Malik Jackson was 16 when he first experienced true discrimination beyond Earth's atmosphere. As one of the few humans aboard the interstellar luxury cruiser Celestial Voyager, he should have been enjoying the magnificent views of the Andromeda Gap. Instead, he found himself being watched by a Novalian flight attendant who kept hovering near his seat, their 6 eyes narrowing with suspicion every time he moved. "Your documentation, please," the Novalian asked for the 3rd time in as many hours, antennae twitching nervously. "There have been reports of unauthorized passengers in this sector," Malik sighed, reaching into his pocket for his interplanetary travel permit. "I showed you twice already. I'm traveling to meet my father at the Orion Station, diplomatic hub." The Novalian's exoskeleton clicked as they examined the holographic permit. "This appears unusual. Human juveniles rarely travel unaccompanied in premium sectors. Several other passengers, mostly wealthy aliens from the Galactic Coalition, turned to stare. A Zentari businessman pulled his belongings closer, as if Malik might steal them at any moment. "My father is stationed at Orion. He's the..." Malik began, but the flight attendant had already activated their communication device. "Security, Protocol 9 Delta, possible unauthorized passenger in Sector 7, human juvenile, dark skin, requesting verification." Malik closed his eyes in frustration. This was supposed to be a simple trip to see his father during the Earth school break. Now, it was becoming exactly what his mother had feared. Another incident. The security team arrived quickly, 2 large draconian officers with scales that shimmered under the cabin lights. "Stand up slowly," the larger draconian ordered, voice rumbling through translator tech. "Keep your hands visible." "This is ridiculous," Malik said, but did as he was told. At 16, he was tall for a human, but still much shorter than the 7-foot security officers. "My documentation is valid. My father is..." "We've received reports of suspicious behavior," the 2nd officer interrupted. "Several passengers expressed concerns about a lone human juvenile in restricted class seating." Malik looked around at the concerned passengers. None would meet his eyes. The Zentari businessman seemed very interested in the ceiling patterns. "Contact Commander Jackson at Orion Station," Malik said clearly. "He's my father. He can verify everything." The flight attendant's antennae twitched nervously. The human claims relation to a military officer. Probably made up. The Draconians exchanged glances. "We'll verify. Until then, you'll need to come with us to the security office." As they walked him through the luxury cabin, Malik noticed how other passengers relaxed once he was being removed. His face burned with shame, not just for himself but for humanity. 300 years of space travel, and still some species treated humans like primitive dangers. "I have rights as a coalition citizen," Malik said as they approached the security office. "Including the right to call my family." The Draconians didn't respond, but Malik wasn't worried. He knew exactly what would happen next. The security office was designed to scare people. Plain metal walls, uncomfortable seating, and cameras from a dozen different worlds. Malik sat calmly while the Draconians checked his information through the Coalition database. Officer Zarel, the larger Draconian, seemed confused by Malik's calm. "Most juveniles display anxiety when detained." "I'm not anxious because I've done nothing wrong," Malik replied. "And because my father will resolve the situation very quickly. Many claim important connections," the 2nd officer Thask said dismissively. Malik shrugged. "You'll see." While they waited, Malik thought about his father's warnings before this trip. Commander Darius Jackson had insisted on booking premium class tickets, knowing the biases that existed among certain species. Never give them a reason, he'd told Malik, but never accept unfair treatment either. His mother had been more direct. "Some beings will always see your skin before they see your humanity. Stand tall anyway." A notification chimed on the security console. Officer Zarel's scaled face showed surprise as he read the message. "It appears Commander Jackson has been contacted," he said, voice notably more respectful. "He's..." Already on board the ship. Malik smiled. He was surprising me. I wasn't supposed to know he'd be on this flight. The security office door hissed open 90 minutes after Malik had been brought in. Commander Darius Jackson stood in the doorway, nearly as tall as the Draconians in his full coalition police uniform. The dark blue material with silver badges showed he was not just any officer, but the newly appointed human security liaison to the Galactic Coalition, one of the highest-ranking humans in space law enforcement. Officers, Commander Jackson said, his voice calm but carrying clear authority. I believe there's been a misunderstanding regarding my son. The Draconians straightened immediately, recognizing the uniform and badges. The Novalian flight attendants' antennae went completely flat against their head, the alien equivalent of turning pale. Commander Jackson, Officer Zrel said, we were simply following protocol after receiving concerns from— I've reviewed the concerns, Commander Jackson interrupted, holding up a data tablet, a human teenager sitting quietly in his assigned seat, which I personally purchased, reading a book on coalition history, occasionally looking out the window at passing space clouds. He raised an eyebrow. Truly suspicious activities. The Novalian flight attendant made nervous clicking sounds. Sir, we have responsibility for passenger safety, and when multiple travelers expressed, yes, let's discuss those passengers. Commander Jackson activated his tablet, showing a map of the cabin seating. Particularly the Zentari businessman who reported feeling threatened by my son's presence. The same businessman who is currently traveling under a fake identity to avoid arrest for financial crimes on 3 worlds. The room fell silent. He's being detained in his cabin as we speak, Commander Jackson continued, along with 2 others who are carrying illegal items. Interesting how those most eager to point fingers often have the most to hide. Malik watched, his father with pride. This wasn't the first time Commander Jackson had intervened in such a situation, but it was the first time Malik had witnessed it directly. His father moved with purpose, each word carefully chosen. Sir, Officer Thask began, standard procedures require us to— I wrote the current standard procedures, officer, Commander Jackson replied, and nowhere do they state that a properly documented traveler should be detained based solely on species and appearance. He turned to Malik. Are you all right, son? Malik nodded. Yes, sir. Good. Then I believe this matter is concluded. Commander Jackson's tone made it clear this wasn't a request. I expect a full incident report filed, acknowledging the procedural errors made here today. As they left the security office together, Malik could feel the stares of other passengers, but now walking beside his father in uniform, those same beings who had looked at him with suspicion showed respect and even fear. Sorry about the surprise being ruined, Commander Jackson said quietly. I was going to meet you at the arrival gate. This way was more dramatic, Malik replied with a small smile. His father's expression grew serious. This shouldn't have happened, but we'll use it to make changes. Malik nodded, understanding. His father didn't just enforce the law, he worked to improve it, to make space safer for everyone, including young humans with dark skin traveling alone. I'm glad you were here, Malik said. Commander Jackson put his hand on his son's shoulder. Always will be, but more importantly, you handled yourself well. Remained calm, stated your rights didn't escalate. He smiled with pride. That's how we make progress. One incident, one stand at a time. Word spread quickly through the Celestial Voyager about the incident with the human teenager and his father, the high-ranking coalition officer. By the next ship day, Malik and Commander Jackson had become minor celebrities aboard the luxury cruiser. Commander Jackson wasted no time putting the incident to good use. He arranged a meeting with the ship's captain, a dignified Solarian with skin that glowed like moonlight. Captain Orloff, Commander Jackson said as they sat in the captain's private office. What happened to my son represents a larger problem throughout coalition space. Malik sat quietly beside his father, watching how Commander Jackson maintained perfect calm while making his points clear. The captain's skin dimmed slightly in what Solarians showed as embarrassment. Commander, I assure you the actions of our crew do not reflect the values of interstellar cruise lines. And yet they happened, Commander Jackson replied, taking out his data tablet. And not just to my son. He projected a holographic display, showing hundreds of similar incidents over the past standard year. The glowing dots formed a pattern across Coalition space. Humans make up only 3% of space travelers, yet account for 47% of security verifications. And humans with darker skin, like my son, face these checks at 3 times the rate of other humans. The captain leaned forward, his glow pulsing with concern. These statistics are troubling. They're more than troubling, Captain. They show a clear pattern of bias that undermines everything the Coalition stands for. Malik watched the captain's reaction. He could tell the Solarian was genuinely surprised by the data. What do you suggest, Commander? The captain asked. I want to use this incident as a teaching moment, Commander Jackson said. With your permission, I'd like to conduct a training session for your security staff and flight attendants. The captain nodded without hesitation. I will make it mandatory for all crew members. After the meeting, as they walked through the ship's wide corridors, Malik looked up at his father. Do you think it will make any difference? Commander Jackson smiled. One ship at a time, son. One ship at a time. The next day, Malik stood at the back of the ship's largest conference room. The space was filled with crew members from every part of the Celestial Voyager, flight attendants, security officers, engineers, and service staff. Species from across the galaxy were represented, from the six-eyed Novalians to the hulking Draconians. Commander Jackson stood at the front, still wearing his Coalition uniform. His presence commanded respect. I'm not here to blame or shame anyone, he began. I'm here because what happened to my son is part of a larger problem that hurts all of us, human and non-human alike. He showed them the same data he had shown. The captain. The crew murmured as they saw the clear patterns. Bias isn't always conscious, Commander Jackson continued. Sometimes it's built into our systems without us realizing it. The Novalian flight attendant who reported my son was following what they believed was proper procedure. The Novalian in question sat in the front row, antennae flat against their head in embarrassment. But that procedure was flawed, Commander, Jackson said. It relied on subjective judgments of what looks suspicious, judgments that are influenced by our different biological and cultural backgrounds. He walked across the front of the room, making eye contact with different crew members. Humans came late to the galactic community. We're still newcomers compared to species like the Solarians or Draconians, but in our short history on Earth, we learned hard lessons about judging others based on appearance. Malik watched as the crew members listened intently. Even those who had seemed defensive at first were now paying close attention. Today, I want to show you what true security looks like, Commander Jackson said. It's not about targeting those who look different. It's about identifying actual threatening behaviors. For the next 2 hours, Commander Jackson led the crew through a series of exercises. He showed video examples of passengers from different species, asking the crew to identify which ones showed genuine security concerns versus harmless cultural differences. Notice how the Zentari businessman who reported my son was actually displaying classic signs of deception, Commander Jackson pointed out. Avoiding eye contact with security, frequent unnecessary trips to the cargo area, irregular breathing, patterns when asked routine questions. The security officers nodded, recognizing the behaviors now that they were pointed out. Meanwhile, my son was displaying normal human teenage behavior, slight restlessness during a long journey, interest in his surroundings, politeness when addressed. As the training session ended, the Novalian flight attendant approached Commander Jackson. Sir, they said, antennae twitching nervously. I wish to formally apologize to you and your offspring. I failed to distinguish between unfamiliar behaviors and truly suspicious ones. Commander Jackson nodded. Recognizing the problem is the first step toward solving it. The Novalian turned to Malik. Young human, your dignity during the incident was admirable. Many of my species believe humans are quick to anger and violence. You proved otherwise. Malik smiled. We're not so different. We all want to be treated fairly. Later, as they ate dinner in the ship's main dining hall, Malik noticed how differently the crew treated them now. There was respect, but also genuine interest. You know, Malik said to his father, when Mom suggested this trip, I was worried it would be boring. Commander Jackson laughed. Never a dull moment when you're working for change, son. A young Draconian server approached their table looking nervous. Commander Jackson, the captain asked me to inform you that your presentation will be made part of our standard training for all new crew members. The Draconian hesitated, then added, my clutchmate serves in coalition security. Your work has made their job safer by improving human-Draconian relations. After the server left, Malik looked thoughtfully at his father. Do you ever get tired of teaching the same lessons over and over? Commander Jackson's expression grew serious. The day I get tired of fighting for equality is the day I should turn in my uniform. Change doesn't happen all at once, Malik. It happens one person, one ship, one policy at a time. Malik nodded, understanding better now why his father had chosen this career path. It wasn't just about enforcing rules, it was about making them better, fairer. For what it's worth, Malik said, I think you're making a difference. Commander Jackson smiled. We're making a difference. Don't underestimate the impact of how you handled yourself. You showed dignity and restraint that challenged their stereotypes about humans, especially young ones. As they finished their meal, a message arrived on Commander Jackson's tablet. His expression changed as he read it. Change of plans, he said. We're being rerouted to Coalition headquarters. They want us to testify about the incident as part of a larger hearing on interspecies relations in transportation. Malik's eyes widened. They want me to testify too? Your perspective is important, Commander Jackson said. Are you ready for that? Malik thought about it for a moment, then nodded firmly. Yes. If it helps stop this from happening to someone else, I'm ready. The journey to Coalition headquarters took 3 days. The Celestial Voyager changed course, traveling through a busy sector filled with ships from every corner of the galaxy. Malik spent hours looking out the viewport, watching vessels of all shapes and sizes move through the darkness of space. Nervous about tomorrow? Commander Jackson asked, joining his son by the window on their final evening before arrival. Malik nodded, a little. I've never spoken in front of important people before. Just tell the truth about what happened, his father said. That's all anyone can ask of you. Will it really make a difference? Malik asked. Commander Jackson put his hand on his son's shoulder. I've been pushing for these reforms for years. Sometimes it takes a specific incident to open people's eyes. Your experience puts a face to the statistics. Coalition headquarters was an enormous space station that served as the center of government for the United Species. The main structure was shaped like a wheel with 12 spokes, each section representing one of the founding species. Humans, being relatively new to the galactic community, had a smaller section near the outer rim. As their shuttle docked, Malik saw the grand scale of the station. Thousands of beings moved through the arrival area, some with tentacles, others with scales, some floating above the ground, others walking on multiple legs. Stay close, Commander Jackson said as they made their way through the crowd. The hearing is in the central chamber. They were met by a human woman in a formal coalition uniform. Commander Jackson, Malik. I'm Officer Camila Rodriguez, your ECO liaison for today's hearing. She smiled warmly at Malik. Don't worry, the council members may look intimidating, but they just want to hear your story. The central chamber was massive. Circular rows of seats rose high up the walls, filled with representatives from hundreds of worlds. In the center was a speaking platform surrounded by translation devices. Malik swallowed hard when he saw the size of the audience. There are so many people. Species, his father corrected gently. And yes, this issue has drawn attention from across the coalition. They were led to seats near the speaking platform. Across from them sat several officials from interstellar cruise lines, including Captain Orlov and the Novalian flight attendant who had reported Malik. A chime sounded, and a tall Solarian rose from the highest seat. "This special session of the Transportation Security Council is now in session," the Solarian announced, his skin glowing brightly. "We are here to address concerns regarding potential bias in security protocols across Coalition space." Commander Jackson was called to speak first. He walked confidently to the platform, standing tall in his formal uniform. "Honored representatives," he began. "What happened to my son is not an isolated incident. It represents a pattern that undermines the very foundation of our coalition." He presented the same data he had shown on the ship, but on a much larger scale. The holographic display filled the center of the chamber, showing thousands of incidents across hundreds of worlds. "These are not just numbers," Commander Jackson said. "Each dot represents a person who was singled out not because of their behavior, but because of how they looked." Malik listened with pride as his father spoke. He made complex issues sound simple and clear, helping everyone understand why this mattered. When it was Malik's turn to speak, he felt his heart racing. He walked slowly to the platform, aware of thousands of eyes and other sensory organs watching him. "My name is Malik Jackson," he began, his voice steady despite his nerves. "I'm 16 Earth years old. 3 days ago, I was detained on the Celestial Voyager because I didn't look like I belonged in the premium section." He described what happened, keeping his words simple and truthful. "The flight attendant checked my documentation 3 times, even though it was valid. The security officers made me stand up and keep my hands visible, like I was dangerous. Other passengers moved away from me even though I was just reading a book." Malik paused, looking around the chamber. "I wasn't afraid when it happened because I knew my father would help me. But what about people who don't have a parent in a coalition uniform? What happens to them when they're treated unfairly just because of how they look?" The chamber was silent when he finished. Even the representatives, who had seemed distracted earlier, were now paying close attention. Next, the Novalian flight attendant was called to speak. "I believed I was following security protocols," they said, antennae twitching nervously. "I was trained to report anything unusual. A young human traveling alone in premium class seemed unusual to me." "And why was that unusual?" asked a councilor, member from the second row. The Novalian hesitated. I had not seen many humans with dark skin in premium class before." "So you based your security concerns on appearance rather than behavior?" the council member pressed. "Yes," the Novalian admitted. "After Commander Jackson's training, I understand that was wrong." The hearing continued for hours. Representatives from other transportation companies spoke about their security policies. Former passengers shared stories similar to Malik's. Security experts discussed better ways to identify truly suspicious behavior. During a break, Officer Rodriguez brought Malik and his father some water. "You did very well," she told Malik. "The council rarely pays such close attention to speakers." "Will they actually change anything?" Malik asked. Officer Rodriguez nodded. "There's already a proposal being drafted. Your testimony made an impact." When the session resumed, the Solarian chairperson called for a vote on an emergency measure. New guidelines for security protocols that would focus on specific behaviors rather than appearances. Malik watched as representatives voted. The holographic tally in the center of the room showed growing support for the measure. When the final count was displayed, the chairperson announced, "The emergency measure passes with 87% support. The new security guidelines will be implemented immediately across all coalition transportation systems." Commander Jackson smiled at his son. "See? Change happens." After the hearing, many representatives approached them to express support. Some even apologized for similar incidents in their own systems. As they prepared to leave the chamber, a young Novalian approached Malik. He recognized her as the child of the flight attendant from the Celestial Voyager. "Your words changed my parents' understanding," she said, her antennae moving in a respectful pattern. "They have served on ships for 20 cycles and never questioned their training until now." Malik nodded, unsure what to say. "In Novalian culture," she continued, "when we learn an important lesson from someone, we offer a gesture of gratitude." She extended her front appendage. Malik reached out and gently shook it, the human way of sealing an agreement. "Your courage has helped many species today," she said before returning to her parent. As they walked back to their assigned quarters, Commander Jackson looked at his son with pride. "How does it feel to change the galaxy before you've even finished school?" Malik laughed. "Pretty good, but I think I'm ready for our actual vacation now." "First thing tomorrow," his father promised. "But tonight, I think this calls for a celebration." The next morning, news of the Council's decision spread across Coalition space. Malik woke up to find his father watching the reports on their room's holographic display. "You're famous," Commander Jackson said with a smile, pointing to Malik's image that appeared alongside coverage of the hearing. Malik groaned. "Great. Just what every teenager wants." "Not enjoying the spotlight?" his father asked. "It's not that," Malik said, sitting up in bed. "It just feels strange that something bad that happened to me is now helping others." Commander Jackson nodded. "That's how progress often works. Someone experiences injustice and speaks up about it. Then others realize they're not alone in their experiences." Their plans for the day changed when Officer Rodriguez arrived at their quarters with an urgent message. "The Coalition Education Director would like to speak with both of you," she said. "They're developing a new training program for security personnel across all member worlds. They want your input." Malik looked at his father. "I thought we were starting our vacation today." Commander Jackson gave his son an apologetic smile. "We can spare a few hours to help with this. It's an important opportunity." The education center was located in the human section of the station. It was smaller than the central chamber, but still impressive, with classrooms equipped with advanced technology for teaching beings from all species. Education Director Patel greeted them warmly. She was a middle-aged human woman with streaks of gray in her dark hair. "Commander Jackson, Malik, thank you for coming," she said, leading them into a conference room. "Your testimony yesterday has accelerated plans that were years in the making." Several other experts were already seated around the table: security trainers, cultural specialists, and behavioral scientists from various species. "We're developing standardized training that will be required for all transportation security personnel," Director Patel explained. "We want to eliminate bias while still maintaining effective security measures." For the next few hours, they reviewed training materials. Commander Jackson offered suggestions based on his years of experience. Malik provided perspective on how the security procedures felt from a passenger's viewpoint. "The key," Commander Jackson said, "is to focus on actual suspicious behaviors rather than appearances. Nervousness alone isn't enough. Many people get nervous when traveling or when approached by security." "What about cultural differences?" asked a draconian security expert. "What seems suspicious in one culture might be normal in another." "That's why we need this training to be comprehensive," Director Patel said. "Each security officer needs to understand behavioral baselines for all major species." Malik listened carefully, occasionally offering his thoughts. When asked about his experience, he described how it felt to be singled out while doing nothing wrong. "The worst part wasn't the security check itself," he explained. "It was seeing how other passengers looked at me, like I didn't belong there, just because of how I looked." By midday, they had outlined a training program that would be implemented throughout Coalition space. Director Patel seemed pleased with the progress. "This is exactly what we needed," she said. "Real experiences that show why these changes matter. Malik, would you be willing to record a short statement for the training materials? Hearing directly from someone who experienced bias would make a powerful impact." Malik hesitated, looking at his father. "It's completely your choice," Commander Jackson said. "You've already done more than enough." Malik thought about other young humans who might face similar situations. "I'll do it," he decided, "if it helps." After recording his statement, Malik and his father were finally free to begin their vacation. They headed to the recreation deck of the station, where simulated environments offered a taste of worlds across the galaxy. "What would you like to see first?" Commander Jackson asked as they reviewed the options. "They have an Earth beach simulation, an Ovalian crystal forest, or a draconian fire canyon." Before Malik could answer, a group of young beings approached them. a mix of different species, all appearing to be around Malik's age. "You're the human from the hearing yesterday," said a young Solarian, his skin glowing with excitement. "The one who stood up to biased security?" Malik nodded, uncomfortable with the attention. "I'm Ben," the Solarian continued. "These are my friends from the station's educational program. We watched the hearing in our civics class." The others introduced themselves, a Novalian named Trell, a human girl named Amber, and a small draconian called Kraz. "We were wondering if you'd join us," Ben said. "We're exploring the recreation simulations, and since you're new here, we thought you might want company." Malik looked at his father, who smiled encouragingly. "Go ahead," Commander Jackson said. "I have some work to finish anyway. We can meet for dinner later." "You sure?" Malik asked. "Positive. Have fun." As his father walked away, Malik turned back to the group. "So, what simulation were you going to try first?" "We were thinking of the Novalian Crystal Forest," Amber said. "None of us has seen a real one except Trell." They entered the simulation chamber together. As the door closed behind them, the plain walls transformed into a stunning forest of crystal trees that caught the light and broke it into thousands of colorful beams. "This is amazing," Malik breathed, looking up at the shimmering canopy. "It's a decent replica," Trell said, antennae twitching with pride. "Though the real forests on my homeworld are even more beautiful." As they walked through the crystal trees, the others asked Malik about Earth and his experience at the hearing. "Was it scary to speak in front of the whole council?" Kraz asked, scales shifting color with curiosity. "Terrifying," Malik admitted. "But sometimes you have to do scary things to make things better." "Your father seems important," Ben observed. "He is, but he wasn't always. He worked his way up in coalition security because he wanted to change things from the inside." They spent hours exploring different simulations, swimming in the gravity-adjusted ocean of an Earth beach, feeling the controlled heat of the draconian fire canyon, even visiting a low-gravity jungle from a world Malik had never heard of. By the time they met Commander Jackson for dinner, Malik had made new friends from 3 different species. "Did you have a good time?" his father asked as they sat down to eat. "The best," Malik said. "Ben invited me to visit their school program tomorrow. They're having a cultural exchange day. Is that okay?" Commander Jackson smiled. "Of course. That's what this trip was supposed to be about. Experiencing new things and meeting new people." Malik looked around the station's dining area, where beings from across the galaxy ate together. Just days ago, he had felt out of place on the Celestial Voyager. Now, after standing up for himself and others, he felt like he truly belonged in this diverse community. "Dad," he said quietly, "I think I understand now why your work is so important." Commander Jackson raised an eyebrow. "Oh?" "It's not just about fixing problems after they happen. It's about building a place where everyone feels like they belong no matter what they look like." His father nodded. "That's exactly it, son, that's exactly it." The last day of Malik's visit to Coalition headquarters arrived too quickly. His week had been filled with new experiences, attending classes with his new friends, exploring the many sections of the massive station, and even helping to finalize the new security training program. "Do you really have to leave tomorrow?" Ben asked as their group sat in the station's observation dome, watching ships come and go against the backdrop of stars. "My school break ends soon," Malik explained. "I need to get back to Earth. Will you come back?" Trell's antennae drooped slightly, showing the Novalian equivalent of sadness. "I hope so," Malik said. "My dad travels here often for work. Maybe I can come with him again." As they talked, a station-wide announcement echoed through the dome. "Attention all residents and visitors. A special implementation ceremony for the new Coalition security protocols will begin in 30 minutes in the central chamber. All are welcome to attend." Kraz, the young draconian, turned to Malik with excitement. "That's the program you helped create. We should go watch." The group made their way to the central chamber, which was already filling with representatives from across the galaxy. Malik spotted his father near the front, talking with Director Patel and several Coalition officials. Commander Jackson smiled when he saw Malik and his friends. Perfect timing. They've asked if you would participate in the ceremony. Me? Malik asked, surprised. What would I need to do? Just stand with us as the new protocols are officially adopted, Director Patel explained. Your story helped make this happen, after all. Malik looked at his friends, who nodded encouragingly. We'll be watching from the audience, Amber said. This is your moment. The ceremony began with the Solarian chairperson addressing the gathered representatives. Today marks an important step forward for our coalition. These new security protocols will ensure that all beings are treated with dignity and respect while maintaining the safety of our transportation systems. Commander Jackson was called forward to speak. He stood tall and proud in his formal uniform. What started as an incident involving my son has become something much more significant, he said. These new protocols are not just about preventing discrimination against humans. They will benefit every species by focusing security efforts on actual threats rather than appearances or prejudices. When it was Malik's turn to speak, he felt much more confident than he had at the previous hearing. He looked out at the audience, spotting his friends giving him thumbs-up signs, a human gesture they had learned from him. A week ago, I was just a teenager trying to enjoy a space trip, Malik began. I never expected to be standing here today. But sometimes speaking up about something wrong can lead to something right. He paused, gathering his thoughts. The new training program includes something important: understanding. Security officers will learn about different species and cultures. They'll understand that what seems strange might just be different, not dangerous. And they'll know the difference between real threats and simple differences. Malik looked directly at the young beings in the audience, humans and non-humans alike. I hope that someday every young person can travel anywhere in coalition space without being judged by how they look. These new protocols are a step toward that future. The chamber filled with applause as Malik finished speaking. The chairperson then officially signed the document that would implement the new protocols across all coalition transportation systems. After the ceremony, Malik was approached by a group of reporters from various worlds. They asked questions about his experience and his thoughts on the new security measures. Malik answered honestly, speaking from his heart rather than trying to sound important. When asked if he felt proud of what he had accomplished, Malik shook his head. I didn't really accomplish anything special. I just spoke up when something wasn't right. Anyone could do that. Later, at a small celebration dinner with his father and friends, Malik reflected on the whirlwind week. When that flight attendant reported me, I was so angry, he admitted. I never thought it would lead to all this. That's how change happens, Commander Jackson said. One person speaks up, then another, then another. Before you know it, you've started something important. Will the new rules really fix everything? Kraz asked, his scales shifting to a thoughtful blue color. Not everything, Commander Jackson admitted. There will still be prejudice and misunderstandings, but having better rules helps create better behaviors. And better behaviors over time change attitudes. The next morning, Malik and Commander Jackson prepared to board their transport back to Earth. His new friends came to say goodbye. We've set up a communication channel, Ben said, handing Malik a small device. This will let you stay in touch with all of us no matter where we are in the galaxy. Trell stepped forward, antennae forming the pattern that Malik now recognized as a sign of respect. My parent, the flight attendant, asked me to give you this. She handed him a small crystal that glowed with inner light. It's from our homeworld. A traditional gift of gratitude. Amber hugged him, the human way of saying goodbye. Come back soon. Kraz, more formal as Draconians tended to be, bowed slightly. Your story will be taught in our school's civics class from now on. As they boarded the transport, Malik looked back at the massive station that had been his home for the past week. What had started as a simple vacation had become something much more meaningful. Ready to go home? Commander Jackson asked as they settled into their seats. Yes, but I'm already thinking about coming back, Malik replied. There's so much more to see and learn about. Their transport moved away from the station, beginning the journey back to Earth. As the stars streaked past the viewport, Malik thought about everything that had happened. He had come to space as a visitor and was returning as someone who had made a difference. Commander Jackson noticed his son's thoughtful expression. "What are you thinking about?" "About how one small incident changed so many things," Malik said. "And about what Mom always says, that speaking up matters, even when it's hard." "Your mother is a wise woman," Commander Jackson smiled, as Earth came into view, a beautiful blue sphere in the darkness of space. Malik felt a new sense of purpose. He might be returning to his regular life as a student, but he knew now that one voice, even a young voice, could help create positive change. "Dad," he said as they prepared for landing, "I think I know what I want to do when I finish school." "Let me guess," Commander Jackson said with a knowing smile. "Coalition security?" Malik nodded. "Someone needs to make sure those new protocols are working properly." Commander Jackson put his arm around his son's shoulders. "The Coalition won't know what hit them.